All right, welcome to a very special entertainment roundup. I'm J77, and we're going to be doing a two-parter leading up to the season finale. I actually hold off a week to do this special audio vlog, but now the time has come, and I'm going to be focusing on a couple of things. One, I'm going to talk about some of the stories that has recently happened. I'll give you my feelings on it. Not too many, probably three. And then I'm going to go right to the special presentation leading right up to the second video, which is going to be nothing but a special presentation. And that will be pretty much the last episode of the season until January 2015, minus the awards predictions coming into to play. So let's start with some of the important stories. Tracy Morgan, his lawsuit has officially begun, and to no one's really surprise, it's going to be a nasty one. Walmart have said some things over the week that shocked a lot of people, including myself. It's relating to Tracy Morgan. They pretty much blame him for the accident, and their reasoning in their defense have said if he haven't wore his seatbelt, he probably would never have been hurt. I find this very, very ironic, considering how bad that his limo van was totaled. As you know, he was in a very serious accident. One of his riders and friend has died in this accident, and he was seriously injured. Whether the case is that he had a seatbelt or not, I do not know. For what I understand, there was no reports that I have read that suggested he didn't have a seatbelt. But even if he did or didn't, there was no way he was going to escape any type of injuries with the way that truck that rammed into that van. There was just no way. So to say that if he would have worn a seatbelt, he would have come out 100% fine walking away from that car accident is just absolutely ludicrous. That is something that I think Walmart have dropped the ball in. And it made him sound like they really don't have a defense at all from that alone. And I know a lot of people say, well, why he's suing? He got all this money. Hey, you have the right to sue just like any other person has the right to sue, especially when his life was snuffed out. And I'm pretty sure he's not the only one suing. We just heard about him because he is a celebrity. He's a top celebrity in the entertainment business. But the deceased, you better believe they have some stake in it as well. So Walmart, being that that is their truck, being that that is their driver, is going to get into a very nasty, very, very uncomfortable dispute. And I'll say this about this. I don't think Walmart is going to continue to let this drag on. For one reason is that they already got a reputation as it is, and it's not very pleasant. For them to go through this, it will only further damage their reputation. Now, they may not lose customers in general, but they're going to fill it in some other way. And I don't think having this kind of image is going to help them. So I see this eventually, before it's said and done, get settled out of court. If they actually go all the way through, I'd be very, very surprised. But I do see them settling this out of court one way or another. I don't see this going too far. As for Tracy Morgan, there was a lot of other stories that happened. Just a few days ago, it was reported that he may never do any type of stage comedy again or even work in a business again because of what happened to him. I'm hoping this is not the case. Regardless of what you may think of him, yeah, he's a pretty much controversial figure in some cases, but he is a comedian. He does make a lot of people laugh. He has a gift, and to see that gift wasted over this is very, very shame, and I don't want to see that happening, especially from someone of his caliber. Well, does that mean it actually will happen? Probably not, but we do know when accidents like this occur, it has a life-altering experience. Stephen King's career was nearly over from his accident a few years ago. So I can see this actually becoming something similar to that. I don't know if he is considering retiring. I doubt that that's going to happen. but the thing is, we have to ask ourselves how much toll did it took out of the body? Has his body been damaged where he can't even stand a certain amount of time? So we got to take into account a lot of the stuff that he's gone through, especially his recuperate his habilitation, just how much use he can still have, and just how much it actually knocked him out mentally, where even if he wants to do comedy, he can't because those flashbacks of what has happened here. Hopefully, again, this doesn't tarnish his career. That's a gift that he has, a very gift that not everybody else can do. And the last thing you want to see is be snuffed out over this. Uh, I hope that that's not the case. And you gotta hope that at least for at least for the time being that he still recuperates. And we see probably a great comeback. I know he before the accident he was in New York. He did some comedy, standing up here, and I'm hoping that he'll come back again in New York stronger than ever. But only time will tell. We do know one thing though. Walmart. I want to say Kmart there, sorry. Walmart is definitely making it a their personal business to actually discredit him, make it look like his fault. But the reality is, with the reports that it came out throughout that whole entire incident, they really don't have much of a leg to stand on. If all they got is saying is he didn't wear a seatbelt, then they're in serious trouble. They don't have much of a leg to stand on. And to me, eventually, once everything gets settled down, they will eventually come up with a settlement. And I think for Walmart's sake, I think that's pretty much the best thing they can possibly do, given the situation. So we'll wait and see. I will definitely keep an eye on it. If there's something major development come on, I'll do like a separate video. But it is something that that looks like is going to be one of those cases where Tracy Morgan credibility is going to be put on a pedestal, put on a hot seat, and I think that's a little bit of a low blow for Walmart to do, especially when everything pointed out to the driver being at fault, and even more so, the driver was driving your truck. So. We'll see. We'll see what goes on. You may disagree about it. You may feel that it's not Walmart's fault at all, but they're just the driver to drive along. But we'll see how that thing develops. Let's go to the second story, and that is Rosie O'Donnell. As you guys already heard, no surprise at all. There's a bit of a they got her and Whoppi Goldberg got in a bit of a heated argument in the View. This doesn't surprise me, doesn't shock me, doesn't at all, because I've said this earlier, that Rosie O'Donnell is a kind of character who can sometimes rub people the wrong way. And I'm not even just saying it with the Whoppi Goldberg thing. There's a whole different feeling towards that altogether. But before the show even started, she started criticizing some of the former guest hosts of The View, which I felt was kind of a low blow just on that matter alone. And then she went after the former child star from Blossom, one of the main stars, for what she said about Frozen. Now, I'm not going to go too crazy with that. I think it's a waste of complete time. But it seemed like she just can't help herself but criticize everybody left and right. And I kind of wish she would tone that down. I kind of wish that wouldn't be the main distraction, and it's slowly but surely becoming a distraction. Forget about the fact that Donald Trump can't wait to pick a fight with her at any given moment. That's something that I think that that's more publicity than anything else. But it seemed like Rosie cannot help but criticize people left and right over things that I don't even consider as important, and I don't think anybody cares. Now, as for the Whoppi Goldberg situation, that heated discussion, look, that's all ego right there. I don't expect them to agree with everything. I don't expect them to, to be nice when it comes to pointing their view. They gotta get aggressive, and sometimes aggressiveness can lead to that heated discussion everybody's talking about. But the reason why this is more important, because let's be honest, Whoppi Goldberg get into a lot of heated discussions in The View. Most of the ladies go into heated discussions, and it's not been reported as much as what Yahoo has reported. But the reason why it's reported is because Rosie has a history, and that history is not well good. She didn't leave on exactly good terms in that show. Let's be realistic here, and that's why I was kind of shocked that she came back. Now, I did saw an episode and of her on The View, and she was actually pretty good in that episode. Mind you, she was interviewing a child prodigy. She was a singer. She sung very, very well, and I see how she interact with this person, how she talks with them, what questions to ask. She's very, very careful. She's very, very professional, and I still can't help but say to myself, you know what? This is the kind of Rosie O'Donnell I like to see more, not just for the younger guests, but the older guests as well. You don't have to be this out there. You can be aggressive, but not to the point where it looks like you're stirring up something that where it stirs up. I also will say that she looks fantastic. I'm not gonna lie. I almost didn't recognize her when I saw her back on television because it has been a very, very while. But I said that there's always that worry that old style that everybody have criticized her for, and everybody felt that she's controversial for, may creep back up. And you gotta hope, even though it is a month and we're still getting into it with the show, you gotta hope that it doesn't become a distraction. Just because you got a lot of great stars in your show doesn't mean that their egos or there's no black blood there. I take a perfect example of American Idol. The biggest mistake they had was had Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey in the same judging table together. That came out to be a disaster and a distraction, and it served no purpose whatsoever except make both stars look bad and drop their ratings for that matter. So I'm hoping this doesn't become part of that distraction. I'm hoping that that this is just something that they got into a disagreement with, and that's just part of the show, and they can move on from there. Mind you, The View has some ups and downs with their cast members. I think the ones that they had for a couple years leading up to this new format have actually was the better ones in terms of keeping the heated arguments to the point where it just blew out of proportion to a minimum. But like I said, with Rosie I was stunned that she was back. She's ready to go. She's wanting to do this. And from what I saw, at least for now, it does look like she's there. She wants to be there, and she wants to contribute. The question is, can she keep some of the criticism that I feel that's unnecessary criticism and only brings attention to herself for no reason, at a minimum, and can she do it without actually rubbing her co-stars the wrong way? That remains to be seen. I'd like to hear your opinion on that. I'd like to hear your feelings on that. And I'm moving right on to the man, Derek Jeter. Last week, he played his last home game, his last road game. It was an interesting farewell, interesting tribute. This is something marking an era, especially for me, who followed him all the way back in '95 and '96 when he fully started taking off. He has indeed a true captain who has played this sport with honor, respect, and a guy who will be deeply missed in that lineup. This was not a great year for Derek Jeter. Of course, he's pretty much has been on a downward to the year. And so retirement, which was his choice, by the way, was pretty much was best. He retired, in my opinion, while he was still on top. Granted, despite his average this year, to me, he retired on his terms, and he retired the way he wanted to retire, as a Yankee. He is a homegrown Yankee. He has spent his entire year as a Yankee, and those were great years. And I am very thankful that we had him in pinstripe. There was some criticism, of course, that came about. Some people, when it comes to analyze his career, I believe Keith Overman has said that he was overrated. I'm not going to say that because, frankly, anybody, if Derek Jeter would decide to go with someone else, I guarantee you, in his heydays, everybody would be looking for him. He has been nothing more than a gentleman in this sport. And this is the kind of guy that you don't see too often in baseball. Uh, to me, he really did represent it on what sportsmanship and what leadership is all about. He left it. He kept it on the field. He wasn't no hard captain. He was a man who put his mouth on his play, and that was it. And he had a great last-minute run, and one of the major ones that you got to give credit where credit's due is that he hit the game winning base hit that actually gave them the win in this last Yankee home game, which is very memorable. And he basically said farewell to one of the Yankees' most biggest heated rivalries in Boston. Boston has done a great job giving him a salute. And look, they wouldn't be doing all this stuff. None of the teams would be giving a hero's farewell to a man like that unless that man was a special man who done a very great thing for baseball. That's just how it is. There is a lot of questions, however, he leaves behind. With him gone now, who's going to be that next player that the Yankees will have? Because let's be honest, for the last 2 years, I did not expect him to be a 500 ball club. I did not expect them to be a playoff team. Yeah, they got tools together, but none of them I really felt will make that much of an impact once they got here. I never thought that Carlos Beltran was going to be an impact. I didn't even think the chair was going to do much. And with the injuries and the return of a 40-year-old A-Rod coming in, the Yankees, to me, future is very, very bleak. It doesn't have much. And you see these players like Baltimore, Tampa. You see what's going on with the West teams with Oakland and you have Kansas City, I still call them California, Anaheim Angels. You see all these players here, all these teams here, all these young players building up. The Yankees, it just doesn't feel like they have a place here in terms of playoff contention. Again, the fact that they won 80-something games and kept that under the 500 mark is an accomplishment on its own because they really did not play like a 500 ball club. They really didn't. They was plagued by injuries. They had no hitters at all, and yet they still managed to win almost 84, 85 games. That is something I was kind of surprised with. I was very, very surprised with. But they need to do something. They really, really need to start investing in getting players here. They need to start investing in the bullpen. And most important, they need to start investing with their farm system. Because their farm system hadn't produced anything in years. I know they mentioned this in WFAN. I know they have mentioned that, but about the farm system, the reason why is because they have a losing season. But to me, I'm not really buying into that. I'm really not, because to me, just because you got a player that's not a high first pick player, they still got to go for the farm system. In the farm system, there's no guarantee that player that you pick high is going to lead that farm system, going to lead AAA. So to me, they got to build it better than what they're doing, and they got to produce better as well. Again, the Yankees to me has relied too much on the big stars of the game. They really did. And that's been an issue. That's been a huge issue where they kept relying, and that's because their tickets are high. When you have tickets are high, you need to justify those tickets by having talented, players. And to me, you can only take you so far before you actually get players that may not fit the role of this team. And that is exactly what happened with some of the choices they have made. And there's some stories that they should have kept, like Cano, they let go, and he is one of the guys they desperately need, especially in the hitting department. So I'm hoping that the Yankees will actually fix that before the season comes up. But at least make an effort to rebuild there. A lot of people say they're not a rebuilding team; they're there to win now. But after seeing these 2 years, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see them competing. I mean, unless they're going to tell me that these pitchers, 2 of those pitchers are going to win 20 games, and 1 is going to win 17 games. I don't see this team actually doing much than what they already have done. Before I go to my other special event here. I'd like to say congratulations to Kansas City. Been a long time since I heard that name in terms of playoff contention. Congratulations to the Giants, even though I was actually rooting for Pittsburgh to win. They didn't win, unfortunately. And this next series should be very, very interesting. I'm actually kind of, I don't know what to predict here. I really don't. Um, I'm, I just hope Washington Nationals don't win. That's how I see it. But everybody else from Baltimore, all the way down to Anaheim, from Kansas City, San Francisco. I wish them luck. Even Los Angeles, I wish them all the luck in the world. I hope they do well. I hope they actually go far. And no matter who wins, I feel those teams deserve it. A lot of people picking Buck Showalter and Don Mattingly to see each other. That would be very, very interesting. Two ex-Yankees duking it out. If you want me to pick, I'm a Donnie baseball guy. He was the reason why I became a Yankee fan, and I hope that he does, because I think the people from the Dodgers management don't really appreciate who they got managing that team, especially when there was rumors that he'd been fired after getting off to a slow start a year ago. So I wish them luck on that. Okay. So those are the stories I wanted to talk about. Those are the stories I wanted to really touch on before I get to this. And this is going to be a two-parter. I'm going to talk about a couple of things here. I'm going to continue with the season finale. And I'm going to be talking about my experience in the entertainment world, the stuff that impacted me, a lot of stuff I actually follow through. These stuff includes famous events, groundbreaking events, through some deaths that really caught me right here in the heart, to entertainment stories that was like huge, so crazy, so huge. They became like soap operas every time they came on the air, whether it was a court case or just some stories of scandals. These are the news that actually really took effect. So I'm going to talk about a couple of stories here, then I'm going to finish it off with the season finale audio. And without wasting any time, let's get right round to it. And I'm going to be talking about more groundbreaking stuff here. I might as well just get on to some of the stuff that was music related. There's not too many guys, not too many musicians I consider groundbreaking in the 2000s and the 90s. I look at the 80s as groundbreaking. I look at those musicians that did that went way above what I actually anticipated, and this would separate some of the musicians that were fly-by-night musicians, who made one album or two albums and that was it, to those who still is active today and their albums going all the way back from the 70s still impacts people right now. When I come to mind, I look at Prince. Prince, I don't even think that I need to explain how great he is. So those who listen to his music and follow his concerts, I think that speaks for itself. For me, what I got to appreciate Prince was Heads Down, the Purple Rain soundtrack. That is just was way ahead of his time. It's still a soundtrack that is deemed to be one of his best masterpieces of all times. It actually sparked the careers of Morris Day and the Times and other musicians who was involved with the movie project. But Purple Rain, the soundtrack, is something that I think that you don't even need to see the movie to enjoy the full album. There's not a single track in that soundtrack that actually I don't like. I like the whole entire track. I think that's one of the big things. The only knock I think I have with that album is that it's very, very short. There's not that many songs in it. I think it's only 9 or 8 songs there, because one side is longer than the other. If you go by video, not video because I might get cassette players, because when I first got it, it was actually cassette players that I got on CD. So I know it's not that many songs, but that really didn't matter because each song I actually think is better than the other. I think Let's Get Crazy is a great song. Purple Rain is a fantastic song, but the one song that is considered to be a big classic on radio is When Doves Cry. That is a song I think that pretty much cemented his legacy right there more than anything else, because that is the one that even today, um, radio stations, even from oldies but goodies, even to the modern ones, will play that every now and then. When you have that song still being played, even after it's been well past the movie date, was like 30, almost 40 years now. You done something right, and this is what got me into Prince, is music, because it was that soundtrack. I went back to some of this music from from the early days before Purple Rain, and I kept following him from Under the Cherry Moon, to even that song that everybody considered to be his worst, which I don't agree. The Batman soundtrack. I really did follow his career, even when I almost couldn't find him. When he changed his name to the Symbol, or the artist formerly known as Prince, I still wanted to know what he was doing. I still wanted to know that he was still making music, and he's still making music. Kind of weird hairdo though, but he's still making music, and he still can jam. He still can rock, and this is a guy who takes his craft seriously. And what separates him from me, when I was following his career, is this is not a guy who is phoning it in. You never once sat here and say this guy is not human trying. You can tell when musicians are not trying, or they're just basically singing it just for the hell of singing it. And this is what separates, in my opinion, these guys who just are there just to waste time, to those who take their art seriously, done better to craft their art, and continue to evolve on society when things are changing. The only other artist, and I'll get to her in a minute, have done that, and she's still singing to this day, and I'll get to her. But to me, Prince to me is a legend that can never be replaced. Prince to me represents, in my opinion, one of the last true artists in the music industry, and I think that alone says a lot about the music industry as a whole. But to me, you don't put Prince with everybody else now. Prince is the standalone guy, and he cannot be taken down from that pedestal. He will never be taken down. Now, who's the other one, of course? I believe straight up is Madonna, the Material Girl. Madonna, to me, had a lot of impact on the business that is still being felt. I think they don't give her enough credit for what she has done. She was very controversial, but she was very, very talented. And I'll say this right out the bat: a lot of these artists that you see right now owes their career to Madonna, because Madonna made it happen. It wouldn't be no Lady Gaga if it wasn't for Madonna. If you look at Lady Gaga's gimmicks, it's clearly a copy of Madonna. There's nothing wrong with that, but you gotta get props to Material Girl. And here's the thing: when you look at Madonna's career, many people that I spoke to felt that she would not gonna last long in this business. She was a one and done. Once the 80s run down, she'll be gone. There's just one problem. As the years went on, she never had one particular style. She constantly changed her style to match the times. The same thing with Prince. She managed to adapt. She managed to accept certain things that she couldn't do anymore, and she had made herself, in my opinion, more better than I've actually even expect. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought Madonna was gonna be gone before 1992 hits, and yet it is now 2014 going 2015, and she's still going at it. She's still packing it in. She's still singing, and she's still evolving with the times. I really love her work. I really love her music. I had bought her greatest hits albums. Her controversial stuff that she have done was more for show than anything else. I guess the only album I can say that I didn't like, and I think a lot of people didn't like for that matter, was Ray of Light. That's the only album I didn't really care for. But after that album, she came right back and made a new album, and that was actually pretty good. So she continue to reinvent herself. Um, One of my favorite movies, she was actually in, A League of Their Own, and I actually just love the single she did. This used to be my playground, and she has a lot of classic hits. The '80s, there's a ton of them. That's classic. You have also the the classic hit that she done with Dick Tracy. Uh, I think her last album in 19 during the '80s. It was actually pretty very very good, including a soundtrack, including a song that really, if you listen to it, doesn't really belong in the Dick Tracy soundtrack, but it worked in her. Madonna's Breathless is the album, by the way, if you guys are wondering what I'm talking about. Hold on a second. Let the paramedics one pass here. Okay. But those are the albums that I actually enjoy, and I continue to enjoy and respect her as an artist. She is pushing up now. I think she's pushing up to 60 now, and she's still going strong. She still look great, and she's still doing a lot of stuff that other people felt that she should just retire, go home. This is no longer your field, but not Madonna. She's really continue on, and this is what I mean when I separated. There's a lot of artists that came out the 80s. Very few survive all the way to now, and Madonna is definitely one of them. And you got to tip her cap. She has a great career, and to me, I wouldn't be surprised if there's still 10 more years left in her. I mean, that's how good she is, and so that's my own feeling about that, about her. I really give her respect, because she did a lot of groundbreaking work. She wasn't afraid to be controversial. One of the most controversial things she has done. That gained controversy back then was like a prayer. I love the soundtrack. Yet the video was pretty much out there. She risked a lot doing that. She risked a lot doing her Truth or Dare movie that she have came out with. So there's a lot of stuff she has done, and risk even her own reputation to bring entertainment to a lot of her fans. But the one thing I will say about it, that her career, she deserved every last bit of it. Her career, in terms of her troubles, was kept at a minimum. And she didn't. It wasn't like what we see with Lindsay Lohan or Amanda Bynes recently, or with any of the stars. She actually knew her limits, and that's something that many stars don't know. She did know her limits, and she'll tell you. And it was all pretty much a show. That's why when I see Lady Gaga, I got none of disrespect to Lady Gaga, but to me, she was the first to have done it. And before anybody forgets that, look at her work. Look at what she has done. All right, so you know who I'm gonna talk about. Who to me has had more ironic impact in terms of music? Well, pretty much for my mom in one generation, and to me after the future generation, I will say this: Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, in my opinion, I in the '80s especially, there is just no comparison. Michael Jackson was the man. And it's kind of funny because when he went solo the first time, I didn't like some of his work. Yeah, he was in that boy pop thing where with the Jackson 5. It was good. I actually enjoyed it. But to me, his career really took off when he went solo again after the Jacksons. And you have Off the Wall, which is a tremendously good soundtrack, won a lot of awards. Then you had Thriller, which gave him the name the King of Pop. He wouldn't be called the King of Pop without Thriller. That is his signature album. Bad was another good album he has gotten. An album that pretty much solidifies his greatness. There is still a great debate that whether or not Thriller or Smooth Criminal, which one had the better video. I'm going to still say that they're both great. Thriller, to me, was the starting point. Smooth Criminal was definitely something that solidifies why we love Michael Jackson. I can't say the same for Moonraker, though. I'm not going to touch that movie because, to me, that doesn't really count. But what made Michael Jackson great is that you had musicians, and then you have this guy. I mean, this is a guy who I looked on the screen. He's marching down the street with police officers. You see his concerts, and you've seen men, not women, men passing out on the concert. I never seen that before. It blew my mind to see that, and it just really stunned me of how that actually worked out. Um, there's so much things he has done, and I'm talking about the 80s. I'm not talking about the 90s because the 90s, that's when things started to really spiral out of control from. But in the 80s, there's no denying what Michael Jackson was. He really he became the king of pop during that time period. He became such a strong icon, such a strong symbol. Many people loved him, and for reasons that is actually rightfully so. Um, what he did to the music industry will never be touched. Um, his album was number one on the charts for almost a year. That's how long his album was. There has every single that he had put out for that song for the Thriller album have made number one. You cannot. There's no way you could actually explain it. It was just one of those things that one, the album came out at the right time. Two, he had a great video to follow it, and three, he just had every last album, every last track, just matching well with perfection right there. Um, I can't really say anything about the album Thriller. I think Thriller was his signature album. Bad became his second, was a great follow up. And in the 90s, you had a couple of good albums there, but none of them came close to the albums that came out during the 80s. And what makes it kind of strange about this, if you look at Michael Jackson's career, this is how you know that he was very personal with his music. There was a large gap between Thriller and Bad. He didn't release an album every year. He released an album sometimes 3, sometimes even 4 years. This guy never released an album every year. And a lot of people say this because he's trying to perfect certain things. He's trying to, get things to work right. And you can tell that was because when you hear the music that he had, you can tell there's a personal statement that's being said there. And to me, that's one of the things I really admired and respect about Michael Jackson the most. He was he was perhaps maybe too much into trying to get things perfect, but he really took his art seriously. This is it, and I did see the documentary really solidifies what this man was, how what he wanted to do, how he wanted to perform, how he practiced. If you get anything out of this, is it because it is pretty much a documentary of a concert never was. But what you get out of it is you see a guy who was preparing to perform for his fans. And you can see a lot of detail that goes into what he has done. That's how serious he took his work. And to me, like I said before, and I say again, there's only so many artists I can actually admire that does it. And the reason why I admire them because they take their work seriously. They're not there just to get a paycheck and sing a song that no one's going to remember 5 years down the road. You know what Michael Jackson's music is. You know what Elvis Presley's music is. You know what Prince music is. You know what Madonna music is because these are classics. There's a reason why they're classics. They don't die out because they're more of a personal statement. Where somebody who's just rapping over something that probably nobody don't understand it. Yeah, they'll hear it. It'll probably be the hit the talk of the town. But I guarantee you, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, 7 years from now, 10 years from now, no one's going to remember that. No one's going to care about it. And like many other rappers that I've heard from, every other musician I heard from, they're going to fade away into the sunset, never to be heard from again. And unfortunately, in this generation with music, that's exactly what's going to happen with a lot of things here. I'm going to cut off part 1 here. I'm going to continue on because I got a whole lot to talk about in part 2. So stay tuned for that. But until then, J77 saying take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.